Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We are going to be talking about Business Central. Tom Dorn will be giving an overview on Business Central, and we just ask that if you do have any questions, please go ahead and type them into the questions box. I know a lot of you have keyed in your questions when you registered, so we will be going over those toward the end of the webinar during the Q&A. And we always record our webinars, so this will be available on our website at innovia.com by the end of the week for you to review again, or if you would like to share it with anyone, you're more than welcome to. So now I'll turn it over to Tom, and he will begin our presentation today.
Thanks, Angie. Angie, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Good. All right, so welcome everyone. Thanks for taking some time out to be here today to look at Business Central and see what it has to offer. We're really excited about the work that Microsoft has done with this product and the evolution that we've seen over the past year or so. And so, you know, as we start our day, for those of you that are using Office 365, and it is the platform we highly recommend, but along with your Outlook or your Word or your Excel, you'll see the link for your Dynamics 365. And so as Microsoft has worked to integrate all of their business solutions so that you get one seamless experience, we've found that the Dynamics 365 and the Office 365 really make a big difference in terms of productivity. The Outlook integration's been great, so you can see here that you get your Business Central icons so that you can click in and see what's going on with any particular customer. You know, in this case, Bonnie's asking about a quote, and so I can see other information just by clicking the button. It's going to log me in and, you know, make sure that I am supposed to be able to get at this. But once it checks, it says, okay, hey, I see a quote. It looks like Bonnie's a customer. You know, what's going on with her? I can see all the open quotes. I can see any ongoing sales orders. I can see her outstanding balances. And I can work with her account, edit this quote if I choose to, all right from Outlook. So now let's go into the product just a little bit and talk about how Business Central is laid out and how the changes to those of you who might be used to the on-premise NAV versions, or for those of you that are looking at potentially switching systems, how this solution might work for you. Each person is going to have a role center. So Microsoft has spent about 7 or 8 years now just working with end users, people on shipping floors, business owners, accountants, order entry folks, salespeople, and just watching them work and better understanding what helps them become more efficient, to give them the information they need to use to make better decisions and make them more adaptable and responsive during the day. And so in this case, I am in a business owner's role center. And so as I scroll down my dashboard, it's giving me a snapshot into this month's sales, showing me where we might have some collection problems, payables that are coming up, as well as other items that I may want to know more about. So I can click in and take a look at sales quotes. I can see a quick snapshot into who my largest customers are and what they've been doing with me. If I have timesheets that need to be approved, I can approve those right from my dashboard, as well as get a quick look into my P&L and obviously my cash position so that I can see how I'm doing. If I have reports that are important to me, I can schedule those and have them delivered right here to my dashboard, as well as complete integration with Power BI. And again, as part of the Office suite and the Power apps that Microsoft has developed, the integration for Power BI has really been improved. And so if I go out here and just look at the suite of reports, so Power BI was a great solution when it started out. But, you know, it was a little bit tricky to set things up and to get them all working. And now Microsoft has created just a huge number of pre-integrated reports that you could choose and add to your role center just with the click of a button. So it really is a great solution, and gives you a lot of really nice graphical reporting that uses the power of the Better Analytics tool embedded right within your role center in Microsoft Business Central. We have complete access because I have the security rights. I can get access to finance at my fingertips. So if I want to understand what's going on with my GL, if I want to look at my cash flow forecasts and where I'm at, any sales information. And if I do any of this frequently, I could pin this and then it'll stay open for me. So as I move through and start to open these up, I get better view. And then simply by clicking the Cronus button, it brings me back to my role center so that I can get right back where I was when I started. If I am a little bit more active, I can do new quotes, sales orders, invoices right from my dashboard. I also have a lot of embedded Excel reports. And so, you know, Microsoft has learned in their work with finance folks in particular, but sometimes operations people as well, that regardless of how many reports we might build, the fact is that people have come to love Excel. And so Microsoft's done a great job in building out a nice suite of Excel-based reports that you can use to start and edit on your own as you want to tailor those to your own experience. So now if I take a look here at my items, you'll see that these are going to be presented in a list form. I could also take a look and see these in a more graphical form if I chose. So, you know, if we've got pictures that are really important to us, you know, I could take a look at tiles and it'll show me the pictures that go along with these items if I like. For this demo, I'm going to stick with my list just because I think it gives us a little bit more information that'll be easier for us to digest. The Power BI is also built along the side here. So, you know, if I go down and find my Athens desk, I know that one has a little bit more data with it. And so you'll see that the sales start to update. It gives me a little bit more insight as to what we've been doing with this item and tells me why it's moved as I see that line move. So I can get in and get all of that information with Power BI embedded right with that item. The additional fact boxes help me just understand where I'm going with a particular item. So my costs, my sell price, my profit, generally where I'm at in terms of planning, all at the click of a button, easy for me to see. I'll go pick on my bicycle just for a second as I pop back in here. And so for my bike, as I move into this item, I'm going to be able to get a lot more details relative to actual inventory, where this item, whoops, I accidentally closed that. Sorry, guys. So when I bring my item back up here, I can get more information on inventory, what is driving my sales, if I have any inbound items, if this is in fact a production item, which this one is, I can see how we build this item out, and I can take a look at the routing and the production information. But many times we may want to also have drawings, and so in this case, I could take a quick look and those attachments can be added right to the item, and I could have a look at that CAD drawing. I can also have those drawings follow through to both sales or purchase transactions. This is particularly helpful if I've got specifications that need to follow my items. So if I have certificates of analysis or conformance, I can have all of those documentation attached to this item, and then by the document type, I can determine what follows through to sales or purchase items. So that's particularly helpful in keeping all of our documentation together. If this were a purchased item, I could select a default vendor here, and that would help us drive the MRP process to the default vendor. We'll take a look at the planning worksheet in just a little bit, but it also helps me set up my cross references. So in this particular item, if we call our item 1000 bicycle, but our vendor calls it, item ABC, I can set that cross reference up, and then it's going to set up my purchase orders. I can enter my item number. It will show the vendor their item number, and that can be very helpful. So if I look in at my bill of material on this particular item and I want to have a look at it, I can bring that up, and then as I manage this bill, I'm going to edit it so that we can have a quick look at what's going on. And so as we go in here, we can see all of our components. We support several different statuses. So if we do a lot of new product development, we want to control which items are actually used in our live production, which items are used in our planning. And so I can have an under development item and have it move through a variety of statuses, but it's only once we certify it that it becomes active in our system. I can also have a variety of version numbers so that I can manage my engineering change control and ensure that we're using the right version of the bill of material at the right time. I can also then drill back. So with my serial and lock control, if I were to have an issue with a particular supplier or something that we made internally, I can drill back and figure out which version of the BOM that was active on, so that if I have recall issues, I can make sure that I notify the appropriate customers quickly and easily. In this particular case, I've got all of the components that go with this item. I can determine if I have a known scrap factor on a given item. I can add that here. And then we also have link codes. So what this does is it allows us to tie material to a particular route step. So if you have production items that are on the floor for a really long time, we don't want to issue all the material at the very first step, because I might have removed material that we aren't going to touch for 30 or 60 or 90 days. Some customers that we have production orders that run even longer than that. And so I want to release the material at the appropriate route step so that I better plan my just-in-time inventory. And so by using that routing link code, I can determine at which route step I want the material released. We also have complete functionality around copying the BOM. So once we get a bill of materials set up and we make similar items, I can move that around, I can copy it, I can make it easier. I can look at all of the various versions, so I can see my versions and the variety of different changes that have been made in that matrix per version. I also have where used functionality. So if I'm considering a change, either a change by vendor or a change by material, I can also look at that where used to determine, who else might be impacted by the particular change that I'm considering with this bill of material. So then hand in hand with the bill is the routing. So how do we go about making it once we've determined what goes into it? And so as I bring up my routes here, I can see all the work centers and machine centers that this goes through, and I can set up, again, so I blew past this, but I shouldn't have. I can have both serial and parallel routes. So if I have a route where multiple operations can run simultaneously, I can set that up. In this case, it's serial, so it's going to go from step to step. But it is going to allow me to set up the appropriate setup time, the run time, wait time where that's appropriate. So if I've got a certain amount of curing or cooling time in between a step, if it takes me a certain amount of time to move this product from route step to route step, that's all accounted for. And what this allows us to do then is track and appropriately schedule our shop floor based on the amount of time it takes us to go through each one of our steps. If I go in and take a look at my work centers, this is where I start to determine efficiencies and calendars so that, if I open up my assembly department here, I can add my direct unit costs, any indirect costs or overhead that I have for a particular work center. I can determine how I schedule this. So, minutes, hours, days. If it's how efficient is it? So, maybe I have 2 or 3 CNC machines on the floor, and I want to schedule them individually. But I also want to see my all-up CNC capacity. So I have an option to say, hey, look, my new machine is the standard. I'm going to say that is 100% efficient. And my other machines are somewhat less efficient, maybe 75 or 60% efficient relative to what I could run on the preferred machine. So this will help us better schedule. I also have multiple calendar codes. So if I went in and looked here, I think I've got a couple set up. Yep, I do. So you can see now I'm running a 1-shift Monday through Friday calendar, but I do have an alternate calendar that says, hey, look, this is 2 shifts Monday through Friday. And you could have an unlimited number of calendars. That's completely up to you. But all of this is what drives our machine capacity and availability. So when we look at our capable to promise functionality at a sales order level, we can determine, hey, what am I able to produce? How long is it going to take me to produce it? And when can I promise the customer that they're going to get it? So all of that functionality is bundled into Business Central and completely available for your use. So I'll back up to my item here. And so once I get past my replenishment, where I want to go next is planning. And so how do I go about setting the parameters that help drive my MRP? And so as I look here, lot for one, lot is one that we use often, but you'll see that my different fields light or grayed out based on the choices I make. So I can set up safety lead time, safety stock levels, lot accumulation periods. So if I only want to schedule a purchase order or a production order, once a week or once a month, it's going to aggregate all of the demand and based on that lot accumulation period. It allows us to put some order multiples and maximum and minimum order quantities on here. So, we have some customers that work with silos. So, the silo only holds what it holds. And so I might set up a maximum order quantity so that when it gets delivered, I'm not going to exceed the capacity of my silos there. And so we'll take a look at how all that works in the planning worksheet in just a few minutes. Item tracking, one of the particular strengths with Business Central is the ability to do serial and lot tracking. And so you can set this up in a variety of different ways. There's many of these that come already loaded. So you have a bunch of options here set up with your different lot tracking options. And so, I can give you as much or as little flexibility as I choose. But once I designate an item as lot tracked, the system's going to track that all the way through so that when we go through and do traceability, if we've got a recall or an issue that we need to notify customers or vendors about, we have complete traceability both up and down our supply chain. And then we also define some warehouse tracking here. So, you know, if I have particular equipment or default bins put away, how I want this material handled, I can set that up at the item level here, but we'll take a quick look at warehousing in just a little bit. We also have item forecasting and attributes that are set up. So you think about attributes as user-defined fields that we might want to better slice and dice our items by. So you can set these up on your own and assign them. So we might want to know weight as an example. So we might add weight as an attribute on this bicycle, so that when I start to calculate shipping information, I have my weight and my cube for this particular item. Forecasting. So Microsoft has built a large amount of machine learning and artificial intelligence into the solution. And so it's going to use the Cortana intelligence to help us to build forecasts for items. So based on the history that we have with this item, and then other factors that we might build into our machine learning model, and it will help us build a forecast that tells us how to better stock this item to improve both our service to our customers and reduce our item carrying costs. So if I pop out of here and switch over to customers then for a quick minute, again, we'll start to see a similar view. So we'll get the list view on our customers. We'll also see some of the Power BI reports relative to this customer. So sales information. I can see drillable content on the side with our fact boxes. So I can see open quotes or open orders. I can see, you know, if they owe us any money. So, you know, if I click on my friends at Progressive, I know that they had an outstanding balance here. Any of the numbers here are drillable. So if I want to see what makes up these numbers, I can click into them and get that information at the click of a button. So it gives us the opportunity to have a look and better manage our customers at a glance. If I open up Progressive Home Furnishings here just for a moment, you'll get the, you know, a quick snapshot on this customer. You can see sort of a mini P&L. It's going to give you some contact information, a picture. There's been a lot of research done that shows that, you know, if customers see our photos, a picture of our face, if we see our customer's photo, it creates a more personal interaction. The tone and inflection in our voice changes, and people pick up on that. We can also determine invoicing. So as I look here, I can look and say, hey, look, I'm going to set this up as a company, but I could bill to somebody else. So if I have national accounts or buying groups where all the invoices go to a particular area, regardless of who I sold it to. So in this case, I've sold it to Progressive Home Furnishing, but maybe I want to invoice somebody else. I can set all of that up there under the invoicing tab. My payments and my payment terms, how I ship. Do I want to combine shipments or do I want everything to ship individually? So I can set all of that up here and determine how I want to interface with this customer. And then obviously all of my pricing and discounts. So if I have special pricing for this particular customer, I can have a quick look at that right on their customer card, and I can manage all of their pricing right from this customer card as well. If I want to see how I've been doing, so what do they owe me? What have they bought? What kind of customer are they? I can see all of that from the statistics right on the customer card. So it gives us an awful lot of information right at a glance. It also gives us the ability to drill in and see all the history for this customer. If I'm providing service after the sale for the items that we have, we do have a complete service management functionality, so I could see, all of the service items that they have. So if they've purchased, a bunch of these bicycles and I have a warranty against all of the bikes, I could see every bike that Bonnie's purchased and the service history relative to those bikes. So I can get all of that at one click of a button. So now I'm going to change roles just for a second. So I'm going to click back, go to my role center, and I want to take a look at a different role. So we've been looking at a business manager, but there are lots of different options that come set with Business Central. So in this case, we're going to take a look at the sales manager. So the business manager wanted to have a more all-up view of the company, purchases, sales, cash management. But the sales manager is really interested in more of a CRM view of our solution. So as I switch roles here, you're going to see that the sales and relationship manager has a much different experience. So as they roll in here, I'm going to get many of the things that you might expect a sales manager to want to see. I'm going to have a quick look at my pipeline so I can see the number of opportunities at each stage. On the right-hand side, I can keep track of my contacts and my opportunities. I'm going to get a little bit of a chart here that turns red and says, hey, you've got some overdue opportunities. And, with the click of a button, I could get in, I could have a look and see, hey, which one of these opportunities are overdue, I have the ability to sort and filter based on any of these fields, but it gives me a chance to help work with my team and, do a better job managing our sales process. I can also look at any marketing campaigns that I have going on. Again, I've got the Power BI functionality, so I can look at my top opportunities that I have going, what the values are. I can take a look at the items so I can see what's selling. It also gives me the opportunity to manage all of my tasks so I can see any follow-ups that are assigned to me, all right from my dashboard. In this case, I'm looking at the sales manager, but if I were a salesperson, I would then see, the pipelines and the activities filtered just for me. We have complete contact management. So if I click over here and take a look at my contacts, I can see a complete list of my contacts. A moment ago, we were looking at Bonnie. So if I do a quick look for Bonnie, it's going to bring her up for me. It's going to show me the number of opportunities that I have for Bonnie, the estimated sales values. If she's in industry groups, so I know many customers belong to buying groups or trade associations, and so we can track which groups she belongs to. And maybe it's if you're food guys, maybe it's Unipro or IFTA. I know our friends in the manufacturing groups have different buying groups, and so we can assign all of those folks to help us better manage those relationships and understand our customers' profiles. If I click into Bonnie because I want just a little bit more detail than I'm getting at a glance, I can also see a lot of demographic data. So I can see who's assigned to the account and all of the things that we might want to know. Microsoft has done a great job with privacy controls, so I have the ability to determine who gets included in our marketing segments. If the privacy filter's been set up, so to make sure we don't market to people who have said they don't want to be marketed to. If some of our customers happen to be minors and we want to make sure that they've got parental consent, we can track all of that relative to those contacts as well. But then if we get down to our profile questionnaire, so some of you have heard me give this speech, although I saw a lot of new faces on the phone. So early in my career, I was with a woman presenting a session, and she said, there's a fine line between mass communication and mass harassment. And just because we have your name and your email doesn't mean that we should communicate to you about every single thing that we might have to say. In this case, we know that Bonnie's an extrovert. She's got a master's degree. She's female. She's got children, married. She likes tennis. So these are all things that tell us a little bit more about Bonnie that help us communicate with her a little bit better. And we can add all of these based on a variety of different functions. And so I go in here and I use my profiles to do that. And so in this case, the one we saw was a person, but she may also belong to a company. And so I can set up a bunch of different options and have the profile built based on the answers I provide, maybe based on their customer satisfaction. In this case, there's also an image analyzer. So again, using Cortana Analytics and machine learning, we can, based on Bonnie's picture, make some assumptions about what we think we might know about her. So if we're working a large trade show and we get a contact list, or we've used LinkedIn as an example, and I want to bring in that contact information, I could use any of those analytics to better set up the demographics for my customer and help me become a better marketer as I work with them. In addition, as I'm working with Bonnie and she becomes a customer, it's difficult when I work with hundreds of different people to remember everything. I want to remember that Bonnie's married. I want to remember she's got kids, but I can't possibly keep track of all of this stuff. And so the idea that I can have all of this built up, and then when I get Bonnie on the phone, I can ask about her family. I can ask about maybe, the U.S. Open or the French Open, or different things that I think she might be interested in based on what I know. And it helps deepen a relationship because I've shown that I've taken the initiative to get to know her and take an interest. And all of that makes a difference in developing a relationship with our customers and prospects. Again, so then we also have marketing campaigns and opportunities. So if I start with a campaign, you'll see that we've got a list here. And one of the things that becomes really tricky for companies is, where do we invest our money? How do we determine who we're going to market to? And so if I pick on my increased sale event, I can go in and I can determine how long they run. I can look and see, if I've got special pricing associated with this, who are all of the contacts and segments that I'm marketing to, how many opportunities came as a result of this particular campaign. And we see a lot of that in the statistics button. So I can click the statistics on any given campaign, and I can see the number of opportunities, their estimated value, what I've invested relative to the money I spent. And one of the big advantages that come from having all of this built into Business Central is the integration. So if I start to look at my segments, so who am I going to market to in this particular campaign, I have, because it's completely integrated in Business Central, I can add different people to my campaign and get all of the options that come because I'm integrated with the system. So as I bring these contacts in, I can use sales data because all of my sales information is here. I can look at value entries. So those of you that have been working with the system a long time, I have the ability to say, hey, look, I'm introducing a new product. Show me everybody that bought this other related product because I think they might be interested. Or maybe a more analytical view, using Power BI and some of the machine learning, give me a notice and build a campaign to show me, hey, these are folks that have placed orders with us, and I've noticed that their order volume is decreasing over time. So make people aware and then allow us to take proactive steps to better serve those customers and make sure that we're getting our fair share of their business. Or if we've got a satisfaction issue, let's get out in front of that right away. And so all of the marketing functionality can be built in here and managed, and it allows you to do a much better job tracking your customers, your marketing investment, and where your dollars are using or being most effectively used. Again, so the next place salespeople and sales managers are interested in are the opportunities. So I can click in here and see, where I'm at in this step. If I wanted to take a look at maybe just this salesperson, so I filter on my salesperson and I can see by salesperson where I'm at. It gives me a better view. I can also see at a quick snapshot where I am, what I think the chances of success are based on the steps of my process. How complete is it? What's the next step? So if I'm the salesperson and the next time I'm going to talk to my sales rep, I can go in and I can ask a quick question, figure out what we might be able to do to help support my sales rep and bring this opportunity to a close. One of the things that we've heard over the years is that it was a bit clunky to use. And so, you get a nice overview here. In my actions button, I have the option of updating these, but I didn't have to click all the way in. So before, I used to have to open up the opportunity, go all the way to the card to do all of this. But I can do any of this right from my link. So I can create an interaction, I could create a sales quote without actually opening up the opportunity. So I can manage my opportunities a lot easier and from any device I choose. So because Business Central is device aware, I have the option of using a tablet or a phone. Any place that I have an internet connection, I can use my system and manage my sales process. Just a few other items here so that I make sure that I've got time. We talked a bit about MRP. So right now I'm going to show you some search functionality. So we're going to go planning worksheet. And so, I type in planning. The system has dynamic help. So it's showing me a variety of different items when I do my search here. So, maybe I want to know how to do supply planning. Maybe I want to get some online help that helps me run MRP. But in this case, I know how to do that, and I do it with a planning worksheet. So I'm going to go into my planning worksheet. And I'm going to manage my process. So as I go in and I want to calculate the regenerative plan, it allows me to go through and it looks at all of the demand. So I'm going to be able to look at whether what are the date ranges that I want this to run through. I know my work date happens to be 2020, so I'm going to open this up a little bit. If I've got forecasts that I want it to consume before it recommends additional items, I could add forecasts there. I could set filters so that I only see particular items. In this case, I'm only going to look at my food items. If I left it wide open, it could run for anything. If I've got my buyers segmented so they work with particular product lines, I could run for just a product line. I think you're getting the idea here, but I could add filters any way I choose. But in this case, I'm just going to let it rip. It's going to go out and it's going to look for everything that's a food item and tell me what I need to do. And so once I get these, I can look them over. I can determine, what I think about the recommendations that the system's making. I can see on the right-hand side, why it's recommending all of these. So it's saying, hey, look, you got some safety stock here. Your projected available is going to fall short of that, so you need to get this going. And it's giving me a warning here. It's saying, hey, you're going to need these actually before your production order is going to require them. So you need to take some steps to get that done. So I could go through, I could edit these if I wanted to. So in this case, maybe I want to buy a couple extra. I don't want to deal with this item just yet because for whatever reason, that's too much for me. But then I can just simply carry out the action message. So if I accept the action message here, in this case, I'm going to create a purchase order, and I want to go ahead and carry that out. It will allow me then to create that purchase order. And, I would have worked down this sheet, and I probably doing, all my purchase orders for a day or for a week. If it was a production order, what do I want it to do? So it'll either plan it or firm plan it. If I had kitting, so if you do kitting or assemblies, those are done here. In this case, I wanted to make the purchase orders, but I could actually transfer it to a requisition worksheet. So maybe I've got a master buyer that's going to do the planning, but I want to send it to a worksheet for somebody else to review. I could do that. In this case, I'm just going to let it rip. If I have multiple locations, it will initiate transfer orders for hub and spoke supply and MRP planning. But in this case, I'm going to let it rip, and it's going to go out and create that purchase order. If appropriate, would have created production orders as well. And then the rest of the company can be off and doing what they need to do to keep the company running. So I see we've got about 15 minutes here, and I've got a note that there's a lot of questions. So let me give a quick think. I'm going to just show you at a high level. So in our warehouse setup, so we've got complete warehouse management. So, putaways, receipts, bin locations, directed picking, all of that is there. Service management. So, I can go in and manage my various items. I can completely track warranty administration. I can manage service orders and track the time and material against those service orders. So even if it's warranted, I can see what those warranties are costing me. If there's some customer responsibility and they need to pay for some of that service, I can put that there. I can also manage the dispatch board. So, if I need to manage where all of my technicians are being scheduled, I can set all of that up there. That allows me to better manage the locations or skill sets associated with that. So very robust service management as well. So hopefully you're beginning to get a sense of just the degree of robust functionality. I'm going to change role centers one last time, and we'll take a look at a project manager. So for those of you that might be in a job shop environment or large engineered order type environments, people that do a lot of research and development. So even though I might have a more traditional manufacturing environment, but I want to track the engineering that's associated with new product development, we have complete job functionality, so we can manage all of those tasks and the WIP, all the expenses that are associated here, and get all of that reporting right on my role center. I'll show you just quickly a couple of these different jobs. So, if I look here, let's see if I've got one that's got a little bit of data. I guess I don't, but it would show me where I'm at relative to my budget on this particular job. If I click in here, it's going to give me a sense of the sort of phase, task, step approach. So where am I relative to where I expected to be, both from budget to actual, what we've billed. So I make sure I'm not, in an underbilled situation. I'm getting paid for the work that I've actually done. Allows us to set up a variety of different WIP functionality. So we have several different WIP options. So I can do contract, percentage of completion, a lot of pretty robust job cost function. So just to make sure we've got enough time for questions, Angie, are there questions from anyone?
Oh, yes, we have quite a few. So we will get to them. And if we don't get to them, we will address them individually via email. So the first question is, if currently using Nav, does the history transfer to Business Central?
So we've done a couple of these, and if we do the Intelligent Cloud Insights, then we have found the history will transfer. It's kind of a two-step process, but we have been able to bring it over.
Okay, thank you. And can you explain how lot numbers of individual items in a BOM are accounted for on the shop floor and generate the top level lot serial number?
Sure. So when you go into your production order and you begin to record the raw materials, if it's a lot controlled item, then it's going to ask you which lot number are you using when you're consuming this material. And if so, then you assign those lot numbers in your consumption process. And then when you get to the end of the work order, and again, you've designated the finished good item as a lot controlled item, then it's going to say to you, okay, you're producing this item. What lot number are we going to give it? Or you can allow the system to generate a lot number automatically if you choose. Okay. Hopefully that explained it. We would spend a few minutes. I don't want to take the rest of the time. I'm happy to show you step by step separately if you want to email me, but hopefully that explanation helped.
Okay, thank you. Is BC on-site the same cloud as far as functions go? Our company will never go to the cloud.
So is Business Central on-premise the same cloud? Is that the question?
Yes. Is BC on-site the same cloud as far as functions go?
Well, so if you put Business Central on-premise, then it's on your servers. It's not on the cloud. So based on the second part of that statement, which is our company's never going to go to the cloud, you can put Business Central on-premise on your servers or in a data center of your choice.
Okay, thank you. And what about a visual scheduling calendar?
So the visual scheduling calendar really requires an app. So Planner One, Netronic, you could probably build something in Power BI if you wanted to, are great planning tools, and be happy to review those with you. Happy to do a separate webinar just on those visual planning tools if that's helpful.
Okay. And role centers seem to be more manufacturing driven. What about construction company service?
Well, so hopefully this last one is helpful. So, if I'm in a job environment. And so let me just pick one here. So maybe I want to see my job actual, and let's see if I can pick another. I must not have that set up right. So if I switch here, when I was looking at, I was going to pop out and show you a quick, and I'm going to do that. So let's go here, grab Power BI. Because there's been some great developments there that interface with our job functionality. So, you know, not only can we manage those projects, but if I look, there's my jobs. So, you know, you could set up dashboards here and see, you know, jobs as a percentage of completion, cost versus invoicing, jobs that are over budget. So, you know, as I begin to look at my different KPIs relative to my projects, I think that Business Central does a pretty solid job in project-based accounting and execution, similar to construction.
All right. How is Business Central different from NAV 2016?
So there are several changes in functionality. And if you Google the what's new documentation, you can find that. We're also happy to send you that documentation, so it will highlight all the new features. But 2017, 2018, and now Business Central have all added significant new functionality. You know, for those of you that have run NAV or Navision a long time, you know, since 2009 through about NAV 2015, while there were some new features, it was largely a restructuring of the product from a plumbing perspective, making sure that it was capable of becoming the solution that we see today. And so there's, in, you know, the latest versions, we're seeing a lot more end user functionality that can help you be more efficient. And there's literally hundreds and hundreds of new features that have been added in the last couple versions.
Okay, thank you. Are object ranges required for development? And if so, are they free now?
So interesting that I'm going to give you a little bit of a qualified answer. We understand that they are free, and because you do your development actually out in Visual Studio Code, and it isn't actually done within the product itself, in our testing, it does not appear that you need to have a development license. Now, all that said, and we have a question into Microsoft, the development licenses are still listed as SKUs on the new price list. And so it would appear to us that maybe some of this is still being figured out by Microsoft. But you can do some light development that would have previously required a developer's license using the Visual Studio Code.
Okay, thank you. And we have one person on that has made a very large investment in their present scheduling module with another company. How do you feel about that?
I don't think I understand. So they have a custom scheduling solution with their NAV, or a custom scheduling solution with another system?
With another system.
So, you know, scheduling solutions typically read the data from the core ERP system. So if you're happy with the scheduling solution, then it is certainly possible to continue to use the same scheduling solution that you've been using and simply move the integration to Business Central.
Okay.
But we'd have to get in and do some design. So, you know, we would, whoever you're working with, you know, you want to talk to them and make sure that we understand sort of what the interfaces are and how that integration will be built.
Okay. And which departments are available in NAV but not in Business Central?
Are available in NAV but not. So, you know, we heard repeatedly, and I spent a lot of time with the development staff. The code base is exactly the same. So every single department that's on premise is also in the SaaS version of Business Central. What we did uncover is that there are some functions that the web client doesn't quite handle just yet. And the web client eventually is going to do everything that the Windows client did and a lot more. But some of the functions don't actually behave the same in the web client currently. But within the database and at the department level, all of the departments are in Business Central that are in on-premise NAV.
Okay, thank you. How can I add fields dimensions to SO forms?
So, all right. So I'm going to try to do this real quick, and if I get myself wrapped around an axle, then we're going to stop. But if I go to a sales order, and if I've set them up on the customer and the item, then the default dimensions should follow. But then I can add the dimension information. All right, maybe. So you can see my navigation is still working here, but the dimension information. Well, there we go. So you add the dimensions from the navigate and then the order button, and then you pick the dimensions that you're going to assign to that sales order.
Okay, thank you. Any particular barcode system that works with Business Central?
So using the cross-reference functionality, any barcode should work fine. You know, you want to make sure so the barcodes have a lot more to do with your trading partners and making sure that we're in a format that they're going to accept, and then, you know, just ensuring that the hardware that you purchase will read that barcode. But I will say that it has become a lot less of an issue, and that just about every barcode format is supported by most newer barcode readers.
All right, I think that is all that we have for today. We're running out of time. We do want to thank everyone for attending. And if we haven't addressed your questions, we will address them individually via email. And like I said earlier, this will be available on our website at innovia.com by the end of the week for you to review again, or if you'd like to share it with anyone, you're more than welcome to. And be sure to check out our events page for our upcoming webinars next week. We have a webinar with Equisys. They are going to be reviewing on maximizing your use of Zetadox for NAV, and that will be on December 4th. And on December 5th, we have FastPath that will be reviewing on year-end security. So if you're interested in any of those webinars or any of our future webinars, please don't hesitate to register for them. All right, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Tom, for the informative information on Business Central, and we look forward to seeing you on one of our future webinars. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.